All right. This is Eric Itis from PupPod, and I'm here with Vanessa Melrose from Think Positive Pet Training. And we are going to talk a little bit about PupPod. She's one of our customers. And Vanessa, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business?
I run Think Positive Pet Training. We're based in San Diego. We do everything from early puppy training all the way through competition dog sports, therapy and service dogs. We do all kinds of canine performance sports like agility. And we also do a large part of behavior modification and work with other species as well.
And what led you to what was interesting to you about trying PupPod with your dogs?
I love always finding new games where my dogs can learn something new. Something like the shaping games are really great in that they always present a new challenge. It helps further our communication with the dogs. And I love the interactive component, and I also love that they can play the game independently as well.
Tell us a little bit about your animals. You have three dogs and a cat that are all playing PupPod.
I do. I have a cat who really loves to play the game. She's been great at it. She has a little bit of a weight disadvantage with the heavier toy, but she loves to play. I also have a senior Chihuahua who has one eye. She has some depth perception issues, but she's gotten used to playing with the toy really well. I have a 3-year-old cattle dog who's mainly deaf. She has about 10% hearing in one ear. So the game has been great in helping her kind of get her sound location a little bit better and just learn to gain from something in her environment. And I also have a 1.5-year-old lab Beetlejuice, who loves to play the game as well.
Whoa. Wow. So let's just dive into some of those and help us understand how you're using PupPod with them. We talked previously. Maybe fill me in again on how you kind of transition them from learning the game with treats to using the PupPod with the pet tutor as a way to deliver a meal for a longer period of time.
Definitely. I think it's great, both mental and physical stimulation, providing a good amount of exercise and a great amount of thinking. I have largely transitioned to feeding my pets their meals through the Pup Pod games. So they have transitioned off of treats onto just kibble or whatever we're able to fit in the dispenser or dispense by hand.
And what about so how long are they playing?
They started about 3 to 5 minutes at a time, multiple frequent sessions, about 3 to 5 times a day. At first, 3 minutes was really even pushing it with some of them. So just short, brief exposure really did the trick. About an average time frame now, I would say, is an hour, hour and a half of constant playtime.
Okay, an hour to an hour and a half. That's great. And how much do they earn? How much food do they earn over that period of time?
It certainly varies. With my Chihuahua, I'll just cut her off at a certain time frame so she doesn't overeat. I know you can dispense the amount of food you want, but we usually keep it pretty full. My lab and my cattle dog get their fill of their meal in about that time frame anyway, so I don't worry too much about the portions as long as they're staying engaged.
And what level are they playing at?
They are pretty consistently all at 4. I have tried them at 5. My lab is the only one who has made much headway on level 5, but they're getting there.
And what time interval do you have? What's the time interval setting that you use?
I use 10 seconds. I have the treat dispenser placed pretty up high, so my dogs are on a pretty fast-paced game, hunting that food down, foraging for it, sniffing it out, and returning to the toy when the cue um, comes on. So it's pretty fast-paced for them at 10 seconds.
So the sound's playing every 10 seconds, but then at level 4, how are you noticing their shaping behavior change to as they are learning that there's to discriminate between the treat sound and the second sound that just doesn't pay a reward.
Definitely. So the cue differentiation plays a big role. My Chihuahua does not have the best stimulus control in the world, so she's learning to get over that hump. But the rest of my other two dogs, Romy, cattle dog, and Beetlejuice, the lab, have done really well learning the key differentiation and will now wait out that tone.
Uh-huh. And your cattle dog, you said had hearing issues, right? Can you talk a little bit about how you've tried, how the game worked with the hearing issue and maybe the lights only mode? I think did you try that?
Yeah, so she was the dog that I thought would be most successful with this at first. She is certainly successful, but she did have a harder time at first with the sound location because she only does have 10%. She did have a couple issues kind of with what to interact with. However, within the first couple sessions, I would say within the first week, she was pretty adamantly targeting the toy again for her reward. So she does do very successfully with the lights only mode. We'll put it on in a dimmer room or with the lights out. And she absolutely loves that game, but we are still working on her sound location. So we'll play it both with audio and visual.
And younger dog, being a pup, did you notice a difference in how your young dog and your older dogs approach the game?
Not so much. They're all fairly experimental. In fact, I thought the lab may be the most inexperienced with the game. However, he's proven to be the most persistent and is very food motivated. So he's probably remained the most constant in his progress, which surprised me. Um, but they're all the two younger ones are still pretty young at 3 years old and 1.5, and they're used to learning new things and experimenting and trying new things. And that's what I love about these shaping games is the more we can do and the more we can provide on that note, the quicker it is for them to learn new things in the future. So it's really a great addition to the training program.
Right, right. And tell us a little about how you introduce it to your clients, or how you think PupPod might be useful for some of your clients' dogs.
I think it can be useful in a variety of applications. Just your average dog can benefit from both the mental and physical stimulation. It can be a great relationship bonding experience if you have the app and you're learning as well. As the dog is learning, when is the right time for you to reward after the app marks the dog's correct behavior? And I think that that's a really valuable tool. I have used it in cases of mild separation anxiety. I've used it with older dogs, as we know that we can work on decreasing that cognitive decline and dysfunction by providing these mental stimulation outlets for them and teaching them the problem solving skills and really working on that with them. I have used it also with dogs who need help with dragging out their food. Maybe they eat their food too fast, or maybe they put on a little extra weight. Get them moving around, make a game
Hmm.
with it, drag out that meal time, get some more bang for your buck with it. Really shy and fearful dogs can learn a lot of confidence building skills from games like this and learning to interact. So, I mean, I could go on. I think there are a lot of applications.
Well, oh, does it open up a new app? Like, do you find any other products that can get a dog to interact for an hour and a half like this, or is this kind of breaking new ground?
I think this is really one of the more innovative toys that I have seen. Um, it's tough to find a toy, especially a food dispensing toy that will last for that amount of time, and also provide adequate amount of energy. You can set up if you have a remote feeder to shoot the treats out over any desired location and get the dog traveling back and forth and really build more exercise into it if needed, which I think is not something a lot of other games can provide.
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll get questions from people where they say, "Oh, I'm worried. I've got a big dog. I'm worried my dog's going to just destroy the toy and get to the batteries." But have you ever seen any dogs, from your perspective, just get obsessed with the toy once they learn that it's the mechanism to get food from a second source?
I think it is a valid concern for many people. However, I think it's important to emphasize that at least initially the toy should be given under supervision so you can intervene and prevent any destruction of the toy and teach them how to appropriately interact with it. I have found in my experience with my own dogs and also some client dogs I've used our pod with, um, that once they learn to associate the marker in the game with their treat, they pretty quickly start putting those pieces together, and it's no longer an object to obsess over, rather an object to interact with.
Yeah, I've seen a similar thing. And you spent some time also using it without the pet tutor, although there's a lot of benefits to the automation with the pet tutor. What were your thoughts on how the app, working with the app to cue the human to provide treats at the right time? Did you have any feedback on that?
Definitely. I think it's a wonderful teaching tool for the average pet owner who maybe doesn't know much about, positive reinforcement training or mark and reward training. It's really important to have that marker go off when the dog elicits the exact behavior that we're desiring to play this game. So I think that having the app light up how it does and tell the owner when to dispense the treat really helps put them on the same page and understanding their dog's communication and also making it a fun, two-way game relationship enhancer.
Cool. Cool. Anything else you want to share with based on your feedback? Because you've been using the product now for about 5 months, I think.
Around there. Yeah, I love it. I love that it can be used with multiple pet profiles. I love that our cat is enjoying it. And I'd love to see more applications continue using it and see how the game grows and develops.
Oh yeah. So do you have any observation of how your cat interacts with the pup pod differently than the dogs, or anything that surprised you?
I guess I was surprised in her tenacity. I really didn't expect her to, push the limits as much as she did in order to get the treat. She is a long haired cat. And initially, the first couple sessions, she would simply just walk by the pod, and it would go off and she'd get her treat. She thought that was pretty cool and stayed around the zone. But once she got to the level of, motion detection, you have to actually push the toy. It was really fun watching her experiment with using a nose bop, brushing her head against it, eventually up to a paw smack. And she has great fun with it. So it's really fun to see all different animals with all different backgrounds experiment and learn to use the toy.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thanks for taking some time to chat with us. Again, this is Vanessa Melrose, and professional dog trainer, and we really appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Bye.